Right now on KGW, a federal judge decides to block the National Guard from deploying to Portland for another 2 weeks. Plus,
a lot of counselors have been looking at different ways that we can meet this moment for our community.
Portland City Council is introducing a new Protect Portland initiative, how it could track federal surveillance and change the way local police handle immigration enforcement then.
Phone calls to the IRS, taxpayer assistance calls, that's going to be slightly delayed. Any amended returns you're filing, that's also going to be put on hold.
Despite the ongoing government shutdown, you still need to file your tax returns today if you extended your request. Coming up, how to make sure that you file correctly and later.
Once they got into the playoffs, I wanted to do something special. It has to be one contiguous line. You can't pick up the pen and move to another spot on the sky and redrive.
Support for the Mariners is all over the Northwest right now, even up in the sky. The path one pilot took over Seattle to show his support for the team as their playoff run continues. Your News at Noon starts right now. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm China Green. We begin with breaking news. A federal judge has extended her temporary order blocking the deployment of National Guard troops to Portland for another 2 weeks. It's important to note here that this ruling by U.S. District Court Judge Karen Immerget could be overturned or kept in place by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The appeals court heard arguments last week over her ruling, and for context here, in an earlier case, it took the Ninth Circuit just 2 days to rule Trump could federalize the National Guard in California after protests there over ICE raids. We are now on day 6 of waiting for a ruling and don't know when that may come down from the appellate court. Meantime, as of last night, the U.S. Attorney's Office has charged 33 defendants with the federal crimes related to incidents at the ICE facility. The latest is 19-year-old Samuel Westcott, who is facing a felony offense of assaulting a federal officer on Sunday. Court documents included screenshots of Westcott allegedly kicking an officer several times while being detained. This after he allegedly lunged at an agent while they were trying to clear the driveway. This arrest was one of 3 that happened on Sunday evening, with DHS officials saying, quote, rioters were arrested for spitting, kicking, and biting officers. According to the FBI, more than 190 people have been arrested or cited at the facility since June, but only about 17% of them have actually faced federal charges. Tonight, Portland City councilors are introducing a new resolution calling the Protect Portland Initiative. So it would find out how the federal government is enforcing its policies and if they are surveilling Portlanders. It will also create a rapid response plan for immigration raids, as well as a new guideline for Portland police to strengthen its separation from federal immigration enforcement. In addition, it will create a protection of Portland information hub with updates, resources, and outreach surrounding the impacts of federal immigration activity. KGW's Blair Best caught up with one of the counselors behind the resolution.
A lot of counselors have been looking at different ways that we can meet this moment for our community and make sure that we are responding to the continuous attacks from the Trump administration.
To hear from Portlanders both for and against the resolution, you can watch the full story anytime on our TV app, KGW+. And we are also learning more reports that an ICE agent blocked an ambulance trying to take injured protesters to the hospital early this month. Public records and dispatch audio show federal agents delayed an AMR ambulance for about 10 minutes as it was trying to leave the facility on October 5th. A protester suffered a shoulder injury after agents allegedly tackled him.
1343, copy. You're attempting to transport code 1 to a manual impeded by protesters?
No, not protesters, just the ICE officers.
Willamette Week is citing confidential reports from the AMR medics that say federal agents also threatened to shoot and arrest the medic driving, claiming that they had tried to drive forward and hit federal agents. But the medics say that they were putting the vehicle in park. AMR says a review is underway. So far, Homeland Security is not responding to our request for comment. Meanwhile, some members of the Oregon National Guard are heading south. About 60 Guard members are being deployed to Texas to help military police operations along the U.S.-Mexico border. A law professor with Lewis and Clark says this mission is different from previous local activations and gives Guard members a broader role than simply protecting federal property like we've seen here in Portland.
So that, depending on what talking about doing kind of looks a little bit more like they're moving beyond protection of federal property in terms of, and moving more toward helping carry out civilian law, which in this case would be the immigration laws.
Similar deployments have taken place in other states as part of ongoing federal efforts to support border security. Stay with KGW, though, for the latest surrounding Portland's ICE facility and the possible deployment of the National Guard to the city. We will bring you updates here on air, online at KGW.com, and on our free TV streaming app, KGW+. All right, it's time to go up to the weather deck with Rod Hill. I heard you just bragging and bragging during your mic check about how pretty it is up there.
It is really nice. I mean, if you look just straight up, China, it's pretty much a deep blue sky. There's a gentle breeze up here, nothing bad. And actually, after a chilly start, the sunshine is now getting warm enough where it feels pretty good. We're on the KGW weather deck, brought to you by Rick's Custom Fencing and Decking. I do want to get to the morning lows because Portland dipped to 39. Now, the records this time of the year are generally 31, 32, right around freezing. But at 39, it does mark the first morning that PDX has dropped below 40 so far this fall. Now, nobody's freezing on this map. You see 35 in Vancouver. And Troutdale 49. Why so warm? Because Troutdale still had a bit of an east breeze this morning, and that kept the temperatures on the warmer side. Here's the broader map opening up. It does show a freezing number of 32 up in Kelso, and also out in Hood River. Tillamook was 34, Salem 35. We actually had our live camera down in Salem looking at the grass along the Capitol Mall this morning, and it showed frost. So we had some scattered light frost, not only in the Willamette Valley, but also likely in parts of Clark and Cowlitz counties this morning. Here's the beach, just gorgeous. Schnookwyns Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City, clear skies, 56 degrees. This will be another day with coast temperatures pretty much identical to valley temps. In fact, Salem now, 55. That's a nice 20-degree warm-up from where you were earlier this morning. In downtown Portland, after being at 39 this morning, we are at 55. Now, yesterday it was 60 at noon, which is a reminder that when we have more of an east wind, the temperatures actually warm up more quickly during the day. They don't necessarily get higher, but the morning warm-up is more rapid. We have a west wind at 5 miles per hour right now. I still believe we're going to add about 10 degrees this afternoon. We'll get up to about 65 degrees. We'll keep the sunny blue skies. Of course, I'm tracking some rain, but it's really days away in terms of measurable rain. We'll have that for you in your complete 7-day forecast. If I come back indoors, I haven't really decided yet. Back to you, China.
Thank you, Rod. We'll check back in with you a little bit later. All right, other news to get to this afternoon. The search continues for a Forest Grove man who disappeared from his home last night. Police say they talked on the phone with 78-year-old Thomas Whiteman, who told them that he fell and didn't know where he was. Search crews were out near his home on Valley Crest Way and Circle Crest Drive last night, but didn't find any sign of him. He's about 5'9", 165 pounds, and was last seen wearing this exact outfit. So anyone with information that could help should call the Forest Grove non-emergency line. And if you see Thomas, call 911. All right, TriMet wants to hear from you on major budget cuts coming in the next 2 years. The agency is holding open houses to share information about the types of cuts it's considering. So TriMet has already said that it will reduce some services starting this November to cover the budget gap. Tonight's open house goes from 5 to 7 at the Harmony campus of Clackamas Community College. And tomorrow, same time at the Fairview City Hall. You can also learn more online at trimet.org/service cuts. A new city audit warns that Portland's park system is not financially sustainable. So stay with me here. City auditors say Portland Parks and Recreation is facing a growing maintenance backlog and some facilities could eventually close. So the audit found that Parks is still building new playgrounds and community spaces while struggling to maintain existing ones, and that investment decisions are often driven by politics and not long-term planning. City Auditor Simone Reed said, quote, "Without clear system-wide goals and fiscal sustainability strategies, parks funding gaps will continue to grow, resulting in less services for Portlanders today and dangerous conditions tomorrow." Auditors recommend park develop a long-term plan to prioritize maintenance before adding new projects. All All right, the government shutdown started 2 weeks ago today, but even though some government services are scaled back right now, you still have to pay your taxes on time. Even with the IRS partially furloughed, the deadline to file if you request an extension is still today. Corey Johnson has more on what you need to know.
Well, despite the shutdown, tax filers still have to submit their returns online, and experts say electronic filing is the best way to avoid delays. Now, the IRS confirms that e-filed returns are still being processed and refunds are continuing through direct deposit. Now, the agency says interest and penalties will still apply if you miss today's deadline. Now, since nearly half of IRS staff was furloughed when funding ran out earlier this month, we checked in with local tax experts who say you should expect delays.
Phone calls to the IRS, taxpayer assistance calls, that's going to be slightly delayed. Amended returns, any amended returns you're filing, that's also going to be put on hold. Paper filing returns also. If the government shutdown kind of continues into the next tax filing season like it did in 2019, there could be some delays.
Now, if you're still waiting on a refund, the IRS says double check your direct deposit information online through their support portal since phone support is limited right now.